everybody. Welcome to Origins from the Esports Awards, where we interview some of your favorite content creators, pro esports talent, and all the people that make the cogs turn. I'm Morgan Tremaine, one of the producers of the Esports Awards, and I'm here today with a Rainbow Six talent, multilingual, multi-talented, MiloshTheMedic. How you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me on. Very much out of the blue in a positive way. So I'm like, man, after all these years, I get to meet some of the people that I talked to over the years of the Esports Awards, and now we actually get to meet and like sit down and talk shop, as they say.
Yeah, it's one of the nice things. We haven't had like an event that is really like long, that is really like a sort of festival length.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of chances of like, let's just like hang out or let's go do some content or whatever. Yeah. It's usually like bang, bang, bang for over a weekend really fast. So it's nice to be, here at the Esports World Cup and to be able to sit down and chill a bit. How's your World Cup been so far?
So far, it's been great. I've heard it described as the Esports summer camp in a lot of ways. Because you get to see different people from different titles, and you're like, oh, normally I would never be able to see this person.
Yeah, it's this intersection of so many things.
Yeah, and it's something that is very much appreciated in that way, that we can all kind of sit down and discuss things and just chat and hang out. Even though people are working, you still try to find like a bit of time, lunch, breakfast, whatever it may be, just to hang out and see how other people are like. And it's a lot of fun. I love that.
I'm sure it's like that too for the fans as well, because you don't usually get this kind of meshing of fans, unless it's like E3 or Gamescom or something maybe, but not in esports.
Exactly. This is like a big thing where you, as a fan, you would go in for the one game that you like. You go to that event. It's unusual to have multiple games unless, like you say, it's Gamescom. There's like so many different games that are happening at the same time. Maybe smaller tournaments. You go to them, you enjoy it. You have multiple games that are happening over the 3 or 4 days there. But other than that, you don't really have the opportunity to interact with multiple games at the same time, practically, or within only a few days of one another.
Yeah, it makes sense gaming is so like multicultural and it's so global, and to be able it makes sense to have that sort of mesh of everybody too, that melting pot of different people. So it's like you get to interact with people. It's like a big Discord.
It really is.
Discord community. Yeah.
It's an IRL Discord.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's probably not how they want to market it.
No.
Probably. Yeah.
No, I think the esports summer camp is
I like
better
that one.
and more wholesome way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have that quote from who was it? I think it was Seltzer. Rachel.
Oh yeah, I love her.
Said like, oh, this is what it feels like. Yeah, I fully agree with you. That is a quote to use.
Awesome. So, we're on Origin. So let's talk a little bit about your origin story, because I know that I feel like people probably, I think we're maybe about the same age. I feel like people around our age, you don't come straight into esports. You always did something else, and then somehow something pulled you into there.
Yeah.
Somehow some door opened, or you realized I have some talent in this sphere. So what was your journey from gamer to esports?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've all played games. That's kind of the big thing that binds us to esports and video games in general. We all started quite young, same in the same kind of volume as that. I went to study as an optometrist. That's actually what I ended up graduating as. In Belgium, I'm Lebanese born. I was lucky. My family had means to send me abroad to study. And I went and I embraced every part of it. But at the same time, you're on your own. It's a new environment and days get tough. And for me, the space where I found myself was through video games and esports. I had a laptop that would overheat on its own. I had to put like an ice pack under it. It was very, very just DIY kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. And that's how so much of it started. It's like you just made it work because you had to. Yeah.
And because it's enjoyable, you start talking about games, you somehow find yourself doing that. And suddenly you're deep in your studies, you're almost done with university, and you're like, there's opportunities, there's some stuff flying around. Maybe this is going to be a thing. And the whole time you're very skeptical about it. Your parents are equally as skeptical. They're like, hey, you sure about this? And this was my kind of my journey through it, because even my first year full-time doing esports and broadcasting, I was still a student. I was still finishing my degree until the end of that year, where I was able to finally graduate whilst working full-time in this too.
What was the point where you were like doing optometry homework and thinking, you know what, I don't know if this is I don't know if I'm going to finish this. I don't know if this is really where I'm going to go. I feel like I should probably be going more in this direction. What was the moment?
Well, I always thought that I didn't want to get fully committed into esports without having finished my degree. Like that was,
you have that solid ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to fully dedicate myself to esports until that was done. That's why, even though I was like halfway through my studies where I'm like, okay, there's no opportunity. I actually am getting some sort of money. And back then, let's say if in 3 months you made like $300, wow. That you got something.
You guys are getting paid, yeah.
Yeah, it was that big of a thing where I'm like, okay, for me as a student, getting $300 is insane. An extra $100 a month that you can just spend on whatever you want. That's still life changing because you're on such tiny little budgets when you're a student. You can't afford to spend anything anywhere. $20 is like your whole month's allowance of nice stuff to get. But when that first started happening, I'm like, okay, is there something that maybe I can develop more into? And I challenged myself, like, okay, for summer, I'm not gonna, because as a foreign student, I had to have my parents pay for me. It was illegal for me to earn money as a full-time employment whilst I'm being a student. You could do small things here and there, but you can't like just put your studies on the side and go work, because that's part of the rules for the visa, and you had somebody to finance you during it. And I'm like, okay, this summer, I'm just going to try as hard as I can to maybe make some money, enough to pay my rent, maybe. I was successful with it. And I thought, okay, look, if I can study and do this at the same time, maybe there'll be opportunities. That's when it started to have like these cogs turning in my brain. But it wasn't until my second to last year in university where I got into Rainbow Six, like fully. And I really fell in love with the game and with the esports, that there were actual events that I was being invited to. There are actual broadcasts that I started getting picked up for. I'm like, okay, if this turns into a reality, maybe I'll think about it in a more serious light. And I was offered a full-time job. I'm like, okay, wow, okay, this is very much unexpected. You will probably never get that opportunity ever again. So either seize it now, and through that last year of university, maybe try to work on your thesis whilst you're working on esports, or it's never going to happen again. And I just went for it. I
have that same kind of mentality, but it's like life is about minimizing your regret. So it's like, say yes to opportunities when they come, because they might not come again. Yeah.
And especially in like a very creative field, usually you just get lucky. If I'm being very honest, like,
yeah, I mean, it really is. Luck is a big part of it. I think anyone who denies that is delusional, absolutely deluding themselves. But yeah,
fully agreed. And I think even up to 90% of it is luck, because I've seen like a lot of very, very talented people that I would think if they got into this, if they were there in the right place at the right time with the right people that were around, they would easily have overtaken anybody, including myself, through all of this. And I think, the late great Kickstar, my old colleague, said that to me even, and he would say it even publicly, like, we're just lucky. There's always someone that can do things very well to an excellent degree, but you were just in the right place in the right time. You got lucky. You're in there. Either you go through it and you appreciate what has happened to you, and you also vocalize it like, yes, this is luck. This is my skill. I still put in a lot of effort and work, but those opportunities you cannot control. You can only control how much effort you put into mastering the craft. And he's absolutely right. And I'm fully behind that sort of way of thinking.
So when you first started, was there a moment where you thought like, you know what, I think I'm really good at this. I think I actually can keep going with this? Because having the opportunity is one thing, but I think you have to have a lot of the self-confidence too, to be like, you know what, I can do this. I think I get this. Because for so long it was not, I mean, it's not like a career path that a lot of people would think of doing. Yeah. And not a lot of people would even try to develop the skills towards doing that sort of thing. So what was that like for you?
It was, I think a big inflection moment was when I was very close to finishing my degree. And at the same time, I went to kind of cast at one of the Rainbow Six events. It was the first ever majors in Paris in 2018. and it was already my full-time job, but I went there. Commentary was great. I really enjoyed it. We saw like more and more fans over the years that are coming into the game. I'm like, okay, I like my commentary. I like the way that I am. I'm working on myself. I have time to like work on myself mentally and physically through that time. And the day after the grand final, I went on my way to deposit my thesis. I took my thesis with me to the event, so that the next day at 7 a.m. I would board a train and go to Brussels, where I was a student, and deposit my thesis at university. So like, okay, I'm ready to go. I will come back in a week and I will defend my thesis and do my final exam in front of the medical jury. And that's what had happened. When these two things happen within 10 days of one another, I'm like, okay, I graduated, that I was successful. I could dedicate my time for it. And I feel confident in my commentary. Good. Then now I can actually dedicate myself to this. And I even remember like putting out a post and talking to family about it. Like, maybe this is the start of a career. I don't know. But that was 7 years ago.
Convincing your family is a whole other thing too. Yeah. You have to start like a lot of times it's like, okay, well, A, this is video games. B, this is esports. And C, this is the industry that it all encapsulates, and the fact that there's like the fandom and the sponsorships. And this is like, sports, it's like that. It's like sports. Yeah.
The only difference is that usually the cable that sends out the data on the other end of the production crew and the van or wherever studio they're in, it just feeds off into Twitch, YouTube, whatever it may be, instead of going to TV and satellite. That's it. And more, it is going out to all of those things at the same time. So I feel like,
and with greater viewership than it would have been linear anyway.
It's more accessible anyways. When you get to watch it online compared to TV, at least in my opinion. Here, maybe in the Middle East, as a Middle Easterner myself, there's still a big portion of the entire Arab population that watches on TV, including my own parents, who they got to watch me on TV last year because
it's amazing.
For the first time, they've never been to an event with me, but they're like, oh, we could watch you on TV and tell people to catch you on there because of the scale of how accessible TV is in the Middle East. But otherwise, be it in Europe, North America, usually you're just watching things online, but the production is still the same. I take it as seriously, and I think the producers that I'm lucky to work with take it as seriously as with TV, because it's literally the same thing. We hit our cues, they have to hit their own with cameras, with visuals, with music, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter if you're broadcasting video games, esports, whatever it may be, or a reality TV show. It's still the same effort and work. And I feel personally that in esports, people put in so much of their heart and their passion into everything that they end up building a more complex product at the end of the day with less resources than TV counterparts. But that's just off of my own experience.
As a producer in the space, I completely agree. If you go into a esports broadcast truck, or even with the Esports Awards or any other major event, it looks the exact same as any large scale TV production, any large scale event of any kind. It's the exact same front bench of producer, director, T, back bench with graphics and replay. The only difference is a lot of times there's an entire second truck of observers and the talent that have to deal with the in-game of it. So it's even more complex on top of that. Mm-hmm. So I do encourage everyone, if you're at all interested in esports from the production side of it too, like really dive into it, because it's a fascinating space to be in, and it's a transferable skill. Yeah,
and it's a lot of people also that kind of the same way as broadcast talent found their way into the space, where they're like, this is cool. Or I've seen a lot, and I met a lot that maybe started off with, writing about esports or about certain matchups or whatever a decade ago. And one day they were like, oh, we needed someone to produce this small little show. We're talking 10, 12 years ago. Like, there wasn't much in the way of production that was happening outside of very specific spaces. And then these people somehow find themselves in those spaces. They learn from producers that came from TV that have a lot of experience, or people that have an education background over it. Then suddenly they gain that experience. They go study at the same time. Maybe they'll get, I don't know, like an EVS certification or whatever it may be. And over time, like, oh, now they've been around for 10 years. They're not rookies anymore. They're producing big multi-million-dollar shows. And you rely on them, but you've known them for years. So you've both kind of seen the growth of one another over this time, where now you're grown adults that have, like, understand the requirements of every show. You trust one another. You built that over time. It's beautiful to witness that growth. Is really ties me close to productions and any sort of esports productions.
It's actually interesting to see. I've done a bunch of events where we have to, they're such large scale. And this happens a lot in the film industry too, where it's like you have a very young crew, so you need to get an older, more seasoned, director or something. Yeah. So a lot of times we'll have these benches of people where it's a lot of very young people, and then we'll get someone, a director who's very, like, we've used directors who've worked in F1, yeah, who've worked on Super Bowls, who've worked on the Oscars, and a lot of these older guys have a genuine interest in esports because they're like, I see what you guys are doing. I see some of the Riot events. I see some of these, like the gaming, like it's going into the Olympics. It's like, I want to be a part of this. Yeah. I want to see what's going on. And it's really heartening to see these traditional media people as well, even on the back end of things, having an appreciation for it and understanding, like, this is the same thing. And
I feel like exciting. It's a challenge also for them. It's like,
absolutely. Yeah.
After you do something for so long, you're like, okay, it's different, but it's not completely different. Mm-hmm. So the essence of the production itself is still the same. But because it's a different space, different ecosystem, new people, everything, you're like, you know what? I want to just try something different. And I feel that because I went from commentator to desk host to stage host, and still kind of bouncing in between all of them, because you're like, well, I want a new challenge. I want something that I've never done before, because I feel that when I challenge myself in this way and I see myself in a different light with different people I've never worked with, it helps me bring a better version of my personality back to my home. For me, my home is Rainbow Six. I've loved it since day one. So when I go and work other games and work other positions within those esports, and I get to go back to Rainbow Six, like, oh, I learned so many things through that. And I've also learned to work with different people so that when I come in here, I have a better view over what's happening. I can understand why my producer wants to do X, Y, Z in this way, or why some other person in the talent broadcast team that wants to do it in this way, because you've had to think about different ways of playing the same song and dance. Mm-hmm. You're getting on stage, you're hyping up a crowd. Yeah, okay, but can you do that 100 different ways? And I feel that that's the same way with a producer that's been around for 20 years doing things. It went from TV to sports to esports and still jumps in between them whenever it's needed. Same for us as talent.
So you talk about Rainbow Six being your home. I feel like Rainbow Six has had a very long life in esports. It's had this kind of longevity without needing to make major changes to the game. It is still, like, in essence, the game it was before. Yeah. What do you think it is about Rainbow Six what are they doing right that other people aren't?
I think it's not even if they're doing something right that others are not. It's just the nature of the game itself. The game itself is built off of tactical play, whether you are actually playing during a round or you're planning before it. What sort of operators am I picking? Which ones am I banning also that I can take away from my opponent or keep for myself? Which site am I going to play as a defender? How am I going to model a site? Because that's like the destruction that is built into Rainbow Six is what makes it so special. I come from a background of Battlefield, so I'm all about destruction. So when I first saw advertisements for Rainbow Six, I'm like, this is incredible. You have micro destruction. You can, as an attacker or a defender, completely remodel the map. You can have it play to your advantage and do it in the middle of the map, in the middle of a round. That's beautiful. No other game does that.
Highly tactical.
I've heard it described. I'm coming off of a week of Dota, and the talent themselves in Dota are like, yeah, Rainbow Six feels like the Dota of shooters. I'm like, that is such a good way to describe it. And it fits well because the developers, the original ones, are also huge fans of Dota. So I understand we've even seen schematics that were drawn up. This was, I think, shown at the Invitational 2020. Mm-hmm. Part of the design of the rotunda in the arena was showing original documents from the makers of Rainbow Six Siege. And you could see the inspiration that they're taking from like, okay, how do we take a MOBA thing, but also apply it to a shooter, but it remains grounded in its mechanics? Yes, there's wild stuff that exists even now and still existed back then, but they still fit within the overall ecosystem of Rainbow Six. Unique abilities and asymmetric play where defenders are completely different operators than the attackers. As much as I like seeing the same kind of characters on either side, having that asymmetry in every single way, the destruction and the flexibility within every single round is what makes Rainbow Six as special as it is. And now with CGX, you just have it's the same game, but new with a backend that supports doing way more in the game, where you can actually code in new ways of thinking of operators, where you can have a lot more characters built within the game, where now you can think of a 6v6 game mode on a larger map, where that was physically impossible in the game before. And nobody knows where the limit is. And I hope that we will not reach it anytime soon, because 10 years in, and we're coming up half a year away from the 10th anniversary of the Invitational, I am just all in for it, because this is going to be such an incredible year and more years of Rainbow Six.
I mean, it's an incredible spectator sport. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you cast in multiple languages. You're from Lebanon. You were in Belgium. I know that Rainbow Six is in a lot of places. When you cast in other languages or host in other languages, do you actually feel like it's easier in one language than another for just like the cadence or lexicon of a certain language?
Yeah. English is the easiest. I feel that it's just more accessible. It's easier to get things rolling off the tongue, because the other languages that I speak, either Arabic or French, my German is not good enough, I feel, to like be a confident host with it. But enough in Arabic and in French, that are also mother tongues to me, that they are languages that are more built around metaphors than English, especially Arabic. I feel there's a lot more wordiness. Descriptions are usually more poetic than in English, at least the ways that I was taught and use both languages. If you've ever listened to Arabic football or soccer commentary, it's usually incredibly poetic. You'll talk about a player and then suddenly talk about them in the context of this warrior that has transcended time and space.
That's awesome.
And brings tears to people's eyes. It's like actually a thing, how incredible the commentary is. But I don't feel like you can pull it off in the same way in English. It doesn't hit the same way. But
it has to be something like fundamental to the way you speak it.
That's just how the language is built. So I feel like Arabic, French, more metaphors, but they're also more wordy. So having the same words hit, I've had to do like voiceovers in Arabic also, and I get sent like a script in English. Okay, how can we twist this into Arabic? I was like, well, you're gonna have to rethink your timings maybe for a video that you're making, because it's more wordy if you want to describe certain things. So either you do it in this way, or you completely rebuild the sentence into kind of this other way of describing things. So it takes a bit more effort, I feel, compared to English. So I feel it's just the easier language to use for broadcasting.
It's really interesting. I hadn't really thought of it that way. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. Having the ability to communicate in those languages alone is something that I'm personally very proud of. But it also allows me to draw on ways of thinking within the Arabic language, or within French, or even within German, and kind of take them into English commentary or hosting or whatever it is, and bring something new that usually is only seen in those different languages and cultures into a traditional English broadcast.
Well, speaking of the other cultures, so this gives you a unique perspective of like NA versus EU versus every different region. How do you think they compare as far as fandom, as far as esports? What are your different, like, what is your takeaway from fandom versus fandom, region to region?
I am very European biased.
I think that's fair. That's all right.
However, I will say there is no crowd like a Brazilian crowd. If you've never experienced a Brazilian crowd, you absolutely have to. I've had the wonderful opportunity to be in the center of 4 times in the center of a Brazilian audience in Brazil, and it is incredible.
For Rainbow Six?
For Rainbow Six. We've had 4 events over the years there, and the biggest one of the biggest esports events I feel ever. Definitely the biggest one in Rainbow Six. We were in Sao Paulo a year and a half ago. We had 10,000 fans in a completely packed arena. The best storyline that I think people all around esports had looked at, like, okay, 2 Brazilian teams making history. No Brazilian team had ever actually won a grand final on Brazilian soil in an international esports event ever. Like, ever. And we got the honor of being the first esport to have that in Rainbow Six. You have 2 teams where on each team is one half of a pair of twins that are playing on opposite sides.
See, you pray for these kind of narratives as a caster.
You couldn't write it any
that's
better.
amazing.
They're on opposite sides. It's a best of 5. They're the 2 best teams in the world. They make it to map 5. They are in overtime on map 5. And they are 2 of the last players alive to see who wins it. Mind-blowing.
Unironically, that's a movie. Yeah.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I cannot believe that as I was in the center of it, getting to witness it with my own eyes. So for me, that's why I would say, okay, Brazilian crowd is on another level. NA crowd, kind of mid. If I'm gonna say it, the chants are usually pretty mid. European crowd, depending on where you are, you'll get some pretty decent ones. Also, depending on the fandom, like what teams are there. I've heard and seen fans of Team Vitality or K-Corp. They're on another level also. French crowd is something else. UK crowd also is pretty good. Although my colleagues oversold it to me and to us on social media for a bit. But once we actually got to it, the crowd loves it. German crowds are great. Like in general, I feel like in Europe, because of this football/soccer culture that exists, you have those chants built in.
Yeah, you have that kind of, like, this is how sports works.
Yeah,
I'm going to have that same kind of emotion.
You have that in Japan also.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the same way. You have Japanese audience that's also like that because they're built off of baseball and in soccer as well and football. But I feel like in North America we don't usually get that. I've never been, except for like a hockey game, to a sports event in North America, so I don't know if it's actually how. Maybe it's just esports or fans in sports, like, not as active in
NA
general.
sports crowds are pretty chill generally. I mean, it's like people get into fights and things, but it's like not in like a UK kind of way.
No.
Not in a UK football kind of way. But yeah, it can be a little more chill. So what's sort of next for you? I know you've accomplished a lot in your career. Rainbow Six, we got X now, CJX.
Yep. What's
the next mountaintop for you? What's the next hill? What do you want to do?
Honestly, whatever keeps me going. I want to be in a place that, as a member of talent, I want to be in a place that respects me, that I can love and care for and feel loved in. Colleagues that make me happy. The biggest thing is I want to wake up and get on a broadcast where I always feel happy to be there. And I have that in Rainbow Six. I adore it. I have that in every show that I get to work, be it here or anywhere else. I choose a space that has that mutual understanding between, and I want to continue exclusively being in those spaces. And thankfully, so far, knock on wood, it has been the case. The next steps, hopefully, I'll see myself at the next major for Rainbow Six, maybe at the next invitational. By the way, we're going to Munich. We're going to Paris.
Hey.
Also in February. It's going to be big. I'm very hopeful for it. I'm just saying, if you're going to be there, It'd be great to say hi.
Do it, yeah.
Be great for anybody, especially Europeans that are coming around. Munich is coming up in November. You got the Invitational in February in Paris. That's going to be big. There's also other esports that are happening there over the time. You know, there's Rocket League that's coming to France. We have Valorant also that's going to have VCT champs also that are happening in France. Like, it's great esports that are happening in Western Europe over the next 6 to 8 months, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Okay, we're going to do a few rapid fire questions to wrap this up.
Go ahead.
Favorite Siege operator?
Ooh. I am a Legion main through and through, and I will call myself a crutch. That is my crutch. I will always go to that.
We all have a crutch. It's all right.
Yes.
Best event you've ever hosted? What was your favorite?
There's quite a few really good ones. I'm biased towards one more than the other. Sixth Invitational 2024, the one I mentioned in Brazil, 10,000 fans, big arena, everything, and I was very honored to be put in as the MVP of the year by Ubisoft. So I'm very thankful for that.
It's great.
Got to get up in the middle of the stage and thank everybody for it. So yeah, I'm very biased towards that specific event, but there's ones that come pretty close to it too.
Yeah, don't blame me. That sounded pretty cool. Yeah, I'm going to remember that. What was your favorite your most favorite interview of all time? Player, coach, anybody's?
Oh, it's from a player point of view, it would be Joystick, one of our Rainbow Six players. It's always fun to get on and talk shop with him. He's very honest. In general, Virtus Pro players that we have in Rainbow Six are very honest and very chill and relaxed. Another one is maybe now from Team Falcons on beforehand on BDS would be with Likefak, who actually is second place at most events over the past year. Incredible player, very good to talk shop with on interviews. It's a lot of fun.
Did you have a funniest or most like unexpected live broadcast moment?
I don't know if okay. This relates to Intero, who a lot of people will know, especially here. It was Invitational 2019. We were in Montreal. We've had the longest map in Siege history. It goes to over 20 rounds, which is insane. It takes forever to go through it. We had unlimited overtime for the first time ever. One of the greatest games ever. Our fellow commentators needed to go to the toilet because it takes forever. Usually we never took breaks between maps. But
yeah, it's brutal. You guys don't realize how intense it can be.
It really is. After an hour and a half, you
get a bracket reset and you got to keep filling or something. Yeah,
intensity for an hour and a half. It's a lot. So they're calling in. We need to go to the toilet, please, 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 please. And so I get a call. Production, we need you right now. We need to do like in between map analyst desk. We never used to do that. So like all of us running down. We do it. It's great. And from that moment on, that is the reason why we have in between map analyst desk segments, because at some point the casters needed to take a break and just go to the toilet at least.
I was afraid you were going to say that's the reason why I wear diapers when I cast. Yeah.
Well, I've never had long games like that. I've had to fill for 45 to 50 minutes on broadcast with pretty much nothing to work with. As you've seen in over your years.
I always feel horrible having to press that button and be like, you have to keep filling. I'm so sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's a certain inflection point where everybody understands, including production teams, like they're going to start talking about what they had for lunch today. And we just have to accept it because there's no other way to talk about anything else.
Yeah. Be like, all right, you guys go get some food. We're going to chat. It's like nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
All right. One word to describe the Rainbow Six community.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. There's nothing like it. It's home. If I were to use a word for it, it's like incredible home. That's it.
It's pretty good. It's pretty high praise. Milosh, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you. Let people know where they can find you on socials.
Well, you can find me on X, I guess, on Twitter, on Instagram, Milosh Talks, or MiloshTheMedic on Twitter, just to see how life is, talking about games, esports. Sometimes I stream, but it's more of a rarity because thankfully there's work and there's always travel around it. But hey, if people wanna chat about esports and gaming, it's my favorite things in the world. We can always talk about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And be sure to follow Milosh. Also follow Esports Awards on all platforms if you haven't. Check back for more episodes of Origins by Esports Awards. constantly. See you on the next one. Bye.